I've always had this weird relationship with my twin brother, Jake. You know how people say twins are supposed to be super close, finishing each other's sentences and all that? Well, that's not us. We've always been different, like really different. Growing up, Jake was the mysterious one, cool and aloof, while I was the friendly, chatty one. People always assumed we were best friends because of the whole twin thing, but in reality, we lived in completely separate worlds. Despite our differences, we did have that twin bond everyone talks about. Even if we didn't hang out much, we could always sense what the other was feeling. It was like there was this invisible thread connecting us. But as we grew older, that thread started to feel more like a noose. After high school, Jake and I went our separate ways. I went to college, got a job, did the whole normal life thing. Jake, on the other hand, drifted. He never really had a stable job, just moving from one place to another, doing who knows what. We kept in touch, but barely. He'd show up at my place randomly, stay a few days, then disappear without a word. It was like he was there, but not really there. I tried not to worry. Jake had always been a bit of a loner, and I figured he just needed space. The last time I saw Jake before things got really weird was about a year ago. He showed up at my apartment out of the blue, wearing rough dark circles, unshaven, just off. He didn't say much, just crashed on my couch and slept for nearly 2 days straight. When he finally woke up, he gave me this look like he wanted to say something but couldn't. Then he just left, and I didn't hear from him for months. Fast forward to a few weeks ago. I'm chilling at home after work when my phone rings. It's Jake. He sounds freaked out, like, really freaked out, and asks if he can crash at my place again. Of course, I say yes. He's my brother, after all. But when he shows up, it's not just the usual rough around the edges Jake. He's a full-on wreck, paranoid, constantly looking over his shoulder, jumping at every noise. He won't tell me what's going on, just that he needs to stay with me for a while. I try to get him to talk, but he shuts down and avoids the subject. Over the next couple of days, Jake's behavior gets even stranger. He's up all night, pacing the apartment, mumbling to himself. He keeps asking if I've noticed anything weird or if anyone's been following me. I'm really concerned, but every time I try to talk to him, he shuts me down. It's like he's caught in this loop of paranoia, and nothing I say can snap him out of it. Then, one night, things hit a breaking point. I wake up in the middle of the night to find Jake standing in the living room, staring at the front door. He's holding a knife, and his hands are shaking. I don't know what to say, but before I can, he turns to me and says, "They're coming for me." I know they are. I try to calm him down, but he's convinced that someone or something is after him. I don't know if he's lost it or if he's in real danger, but either way, I'm freaking out. I manage to get the knife away and convince him to go back to bed. But I don't sleep at all that night. I'm too busy trying to figure out what's going on with Jake. The next day, I decide to get to the bottom of this. I start digging around, trying to find out what Jake's been up to since I last saw him. It's not easy. Jake's never been one to share much, but I pieced together a few things. Apparently, he'd been involved with some sketchy people into conspiracy theories, secret societies, the whole 9 yards. And Jake, being Jake, got in way over his head. But here's where it gets weirder. As I'm digging around, I start noticing strange things happening to me too. My phone acts up, random calls from unknown numbers, weird static noises, and I get this feeling that I'm being watched. At first, I think it's just stress, but then I start seeing things, or think I do. I catch glimpses of someone who looks exactly like me, just out of the corner of my eye. But when I turn to look, they're gone. I start questioning my sanity. Am I just imagining things because of Jake's paranoia? Or is something else going on? One night, I decide I need answers. I find Jake on the couch, staring blankly at the TV, but I can tell he's not really watching. I sit next to him and ask what's going on. At first, he doesn't respond, just stares at the screen. But then, out of nowhere, he starts talking. And what he says makes me wish I hadn't asked. Jake tells me he got involved with a group doing some kind of experimentation. He's vague on the details, But the gist is they've been messing with something they shouldn't have, something that's changed him or both of us. He says whatever they did created this duplicate, a doppelganger. But it's not just a clone or a look-alike. It's like a shadow of us, with its own mind and agenda. And it's been following us, trying to replace one of us. I'm trying to process this insane story when Jake drops the biggest bombshell. He looks me dead in the eye and says, "It's already happened to me." I'm speechless. Jake goes on to explain that the brother I grew up with, the Jake I knew, has already been replaced. The guy sitting next to me is the doppelganger, trying to warn me because it's coming for me next. At this point, I don't know what to believe. The story's too crazy, but the fear in Jake's or the doppelganger's eyes is real. I don't have time to react because the next thing I know, the front door bursts open, and another Jake walks in. He looks just as shocked to see us as we are to see him. The room is dead silent as we all just stare at each other. It's like looking into a mirror, but with a slight delay, like when you're on a video call with bad lag. I can't tell who's real and who's the doppelganger. My head is spinning, and I feel like I'm about to pass out from the sheer insanity of it all. Then, without warning, the Jake next to me lunges at the one in the doorway. They start fighting, and it's brutal. I'm just frozen, watching them beat the crap out of each other, each trying to prove they're the real Jake. But I can't tell the difference anymore. They're both identical in every way. I'm stuck, watching them go at it, knowing there's no way this can end well. I keep trying to find something, anything that sets one apart. A birthmark, a scar, a habit, something. But they're both perfect copies, and the fight gets more intense by the second. Finally, one gains the upper hand and pins the other down. He looks up at me, breathless, and says, "It's me. I'm your brother. You have to believe me." But before I can respond, the other Jake starts laughing, a cold, eerie laugh that chills me to the bone. "You've already lost," he says. "It doesn't matter who wins. You'll never know which one of us is real." And that's when it hits me. No matter what happens next, I'll never be sure. I'll never know if the person I end up living with is my real brother or his doppelganger. I'll spend the rest of my life questioning everything, every word, every action, every moment. The fight ends abruptly. One slumps to the ground, motionless, while the other stands up, panting, covered in blood. He looks at me with that same pleading expression and says, "It's me. It's really me." I don't respond. I just nod, but deep down I know the truth. I've lost my brother, whether to the doppelganger or my own paranoia. And from that moment on, nothing will ever be the same.
How was today's story? Let us know what your favorite part was in the comments. Turn on notifications so you can be alerted when a new story arrives.